video tutorial will show you how to reassemble a M24 47 Yugoslavian Mauser. We're going to start with the top stock. Right now I'm replacing the retention band, which has 2 screws. Go right there. Not difficult to reassemble, just place it in there, put the 2 screws in, screw it in. Now we are going to be replacing the metal butt plate, which has 2 screws that retain it. It's got one bent end. You'll see in the stock that fits on top. I noticed that one of the screws was slightly different on mine. I'm not sure if this is always the case, as I think mine was reassembled with separate Mauser parts and sold as one complete rifle. And that's important because the top seemed to only like one screw. So you can see that's reassembled and the screws are pretty much flush. For now, just disregard that the magazine is in the stock. You want to do that till later, and I'll show you later. These are the springs that retain the bands. You'll see that one has a pin on it. It's going to the front because that's going to fit with the piece that the pin sits in. The best way to get these started is to use a clamp such as this to just get them in there slightly. You're going to have to pound them in a little better with a punch, but this will get it just started. The best way to get these completely in is to put the punch right on where the pin would drive in and hit it with a hammer. Now put the other spring into the stock. You'll see that this one doesn't have a pin, so make sure that one goes towards the back. If you're trying to disassemble this, use a clamp on the other end of the spring and then drive the pin out with a punch from the other side of the stock where those small holes are. It makes it a lot easier for them to be pushed out. You can see the springs fit flush now after punching them in. Now we can replace the rear sling swivel. Just like the metal butt plate, it has 2 wood screws that look pretty much exactly the same. I think you kind of get the idea that you're just going to put the screws in and screw it in. You can see that fits pretty flush now. Now we'll be replacing this cross-member type piece, which has 1 screw, which requires a adjustable pin spanner wrench like this. Put the unthreaded side through the left end. On the end of this piece, you'll see that one side is actually thicker than the other. So make sure, I think the thick side goes towards the top of the rifle. Might actually fit more than flush into the rifle. It sits in the stock a little further than it probably needs to. And then you take your adjustable pin spanner wrench and thread the other side on and get that screwed in. You can see it's screwed all the way in. Now we're going to slide this piece on the front, which has this pin to retain it. It's important to note which side of the pin is tapered because you don't want to be smashing this in and damaging this part or the pin itself. I use the punch to make it completely flush with the stock. Alright, now revert back to when I put the magazine trigger guard assembly along with the follower and magazine spring. So you're just going to place it back into the rifle, make sure it fits flush. Sometimes it can be a not so great fit. Now get your action ready, make sure it's unloaded. I'm sure it isn't, because why would you have it loaded? I'm not going to show you how to disassemble the bolt because you can find that in every other video around a Mauser pretty much online. You'll see that the two barrel bands are on the front. I never pulled those off because it's kind of unnecessary. Alright, now lay the action into the stock. Make sure everything fits and is flush. There are two major screws that hold the action into the stock. This is the longer screw. It goes into the back of the stock. Don't screw this screw in really tight because you'll see that it has rounded grooves in it to help you put the retaining screw in as well. This is a retention screw that goes in right next to it. You'll see it has a groove as well. And if you look, it goes right in front of the last one you put in. This is a second major screw. You can see it's shorter and it fits in the front right there. Once that's screwed in, put the other small retention screw next to that. Now we're going to put your reassembled top stock back on. Make sure the front side or the rear sight is up, and you can do what I just did there. Make sure the screw is also not screwed in right before the rear sight, because that'll prevent you from putting it back on. That's actually what retains it once it's on there. The band that we first replaced lines up with the action in some way, shape, or form, and then it goes on pretty flush. And then you can put your sight back down and put that screw back in. Now we're going to put the two barrel bands back on, which depending on your stock might be very difficult to push on. Try not to damage the stock while doing this because it can be really tight. Make sure the retaining spring pops back in place. If it doesn't, you might be able to grab it with a pair of pliers and pull it back up. And now we'll move on to the front one. And you see the pin sits back into that barrel band, and that's why you need the pin in the front. Throw your bolt back in, which you can either do by pulling back on the side thing or just pushing it in. And do a function check. Make sure the safety flag goes in all directions and will lock the bolt and keep the trigger from firing. Don't forget to slide your cleaning rod back in and screw it in place. So that's it. Hope this video helped. Thanks for watching.